Good evening, everyone. My name is Saoyi. Actually, I'm a Malaysian artist, but I'm based in Taiwan. To introduce Gogu, actually, I just met Gogu for the first time in August this year when we were on a trip also on the plantation economy in the Peninsula, Malaysia, in August, together with a Taiwanese curator and art critic Xian, and also a Taiwanese artist Wu Qiyu. So we went to Gogu's studio, which is we took some time to find the studio, as this is in a law firm actually. To introduce Gogu, maybe I'll just introduce Gogu a little bit. Gogu is he's a filmmaker, a Malaysian artist and filmmaker based in Kuala Lumpur, but with a South Indian descendant. So he has made numerous short films, and he's actually on his process of making a kind of like a project, a long time project that really connects with his family history, which is also one of the core or the inspiration for today's talk. And we first saw Gogu's work actually also in August in a exhibition in Ilhan Gallery called the Plantation Plot. That Gogu presented kind of like a snippets of a work in progress of his current project, which was presented in a video called the Coolies Chorus. So in this presentation, Gogus will share with everyone online about his current project and his current interests or research through his family history, and how he would like to voice out the memories stamped in the colonial history also in Malaya. So let's welcome Gogu to share with us.
Hello, thank you so much for the introduction and for having me. So let me share you. So I'm Gogu. I'm an aspiring filmmaker. Myself, I'm the fourth generation of Indian immigrant who have come and stayed in Malaysia, and I've so I'm a Malaysian, and my great grandfather came from South India, from Tamil Nadu, in the early 1900s, and he worked in the plantation. And it's only during my father's generation our family moved out of the plantation, and I was born and raised in the city completely, and only recently somehow my path lead me to the plantation where my ancestors were first introduced to this land, and my research somehow grew around this topic. So I would like to start this with the most striking song that I have read from all the Tamil folk songs I have read. This is the first and the most striking song for me. So it goes. பாலுமரம் வெட்டலான்னு பழைய கப்பல் ஏறி வந்தோம், 45 காசை போட்டு நட்டெலும்ப கலட்டுறானே, 35 காசை போட்டு மூட்டெலும்ப கலட்டுறானே. So this song is sung in the Malaysian plantations by the Tamil indentured laborers who were brought here during the colonial period. This particular song was collected in the 1980s by Dr. R. Dandayudam. He was a professor at University of Malaya at that time. On the cover page, you can see his face. He has a very beautiful, charming face, and all his students remember him as a very, very, very pleasant teacher and mentor. So he is actually from India, and he came to work in the university in the mid 70s. So what he would do is during his weekend, he would go to the plantations in Malaysia, in the peninsula, and he would go and meet the Tamil laborers who are still there, and he would talk to them, and he would ask them if they remember any folk songs. And thankfully, this period was also there were the last generation of the Tamil laborers who were actually singing folk songs. And apparently after that, the people have started to forget, and slowly the folk song legacy and tradition in Malaysia dies off. So he went at the right time, and this Dr. Dandayudam did this for about 10 years, going to all different plantations and finding the song. So he actually taped it in a cassette, and he was collecting them. All these are actually not commissioned. He was doing it out of passion. And so though the songs are collected in the 80s, but because oral tradition works by it is transferred through generation. So if you read all these songs, you can actually know that these are talking about even larger history. So when I read this, so there's about 500 songs Dr. Dandayudam has collected, and when I read them all, and if I would put them in a timeline, it actually talks about the stories that are even about the first immigrant who came to Malaysia. So it talks about how the Indians were brought, and what were the conditions in India before they came here, and how they were convinced to move to Malaysia. How was the boat journey? And what was their feeling when they first arrived? All these are expressed in the songs, which I find it so beautiful. And also, this is the only kind of its kind, because in Malaysia the Indians are minorities, and when they were in the plantations, they didn't have the agency to document their own history, and the people who had the capacity to document them did not do it properly, or even when they do it, like for example, when the colonials take picture, you somehow see how they don't really see them as human. So there is always missing. We like before I find these folk songs, I only know about my ancestors and my history as a factual history, but what these songs have given me are the emotional history of the past, which is very important, because only with that I can actually personalize the history. If not, the history will always be distant with me. So yeah. So what happened was Dr. Dandayudam did this, and but sadly, before he could finish this book, he passed away tragically. And thanks to his family and students, they completed the transcription and published the book in 1998, and I only found this book 20 years later. And when I find this book, there was only I was really happy to find this, and it was great. But folk songs are only if they are songs, they are only complete with melody together. So what I had was just this 500 lyrics of folk songs. And when I went to inquire the people who are still alive, who were in the making of the book, I learned that the record, the tape that Dr. Dandaidam used to record his it went missing over the years, and no one had a copy. So it was sad in the beginning, but that was also the beginning of my journey in this whatever I'm doing now. So what I'm doing now is trying to reimagine and reconstruct the melodies of to certain songs that are present in this book, which tells the history of Malaysian Indian. So today in this lecture, what we will do is we will go through certain songs that were sung in the book, and also from different books and different sources, and we will see the history of the working class Malaysian Indians through the lens of folk songs, and there are different genres of folk songs. Okay. So the Tamil folk songs are they are made up of different genres, and each genre has a certain melodic pattern to it. So that is also a way. That's why it was still possible for me to reconstruct and reimagine the melody to the song that was found in the book, because there are genres, for example, lullaby and work song, or drunken song, or songs about fighting. So they have somehow a similar melodic pattern, which we can still trace. And this is an important reminder that the Tamil folk songs in Malaysia it does not come out from its own. It actually has its long-rooted legacy in the heritage of South Indian working class music. So before understanding the folk songs in Malaysian plantation, I think it is important to understand what was the folk songs were before they came to Malaysia. Like, how was it back in India, and how was their condition and politics around them? Only then we can completely understand how they came and what changed and how they evolved. மாரியம்மன் அருளாலே மலையோ பெஞ்சிடுச்சி, மணிமணியா பயிரெல்லாம் விடிவெளியா முளைச்சிடுச்சி, நிலத்தடி நீர் குடிச்சி நெல்மணியும் விளைஞ்சிடுச்சி, களத்து மேடு போக கதிர்மணியும் காத்திருக்கு. So this is a song that is sung. This is not the song that from the book. This is a traditional song that was sung in Tamil Nadu in the South India for the paddy harvesting for the paddy. So before they harvest the paddy, they thank Mariamman. Mariamman is also our goddess of rain. So they are thanking the people who work in the paddy field, they are thanking Mother Goddess Rain for giving them the rain, and because of that, the paddy has grown very healthily. So they're happy. So they're singing this song. So. Traditionally, these are the native land of Tamil people, which is the southern India and the northern part of Sri Lanka. And in this region is where our ancestor came from. And for traditionally, Tamil songs, Tamil music are divided into two categories. One is Carnatic music and one is folk music. And this is is actually segregated by class. There is a class difference between this. So Carnatic music is a music for the elite and the upper class people. And it is protected by the temple. It is funded by the rich people, and they are all written. They are all supported by kings, and they are performed by artists. Whereas the folk songs are not really performed. These are songs that are sung by the regular people, ordinary people, through their daily life. And these are not written. These are just orally passed songs, and somehow they remember through their flesh. What I really like about the folk song is they are sung, like it is not written. So it is really sung, it is really rooted in the present. They are singing it from now. But also because it is, that song has traveled through generations, it feels both present and timeless at the same time. It has this kind of quality. And for the folk song, there is no named author. It's free and it's for all. So to put in context, before the 60s, these folk songs were not considered as music by the scholars or elite because they have no particular structure and it is not performed by artists, and it's and the main reason is it is sung by the lower class working class people. So the upper class people think they dismiss it and did not even consider it as music. So only in the 60s, a professor called Vanama Malai, he had a socialist background, and he is the first to shift the scholarly perspective to folk songs, and he showed the others that how important the folk songs are, and he started this tradition of collecting folk songs and studying them intensely and categorizing them and giving them much more importance in the culture. That happened in the 60s in India, and Dr. Dandaidam, who came to Malaysia in the 70s, is probably affected by this movement also. Okay. So Tamil folk songs in India, they flourished in communal labor. It's really songs of the working people, and it is always sung in groups. For example, like in paddy fields, and it is always like a call and response kind of songs. One will sing, and then the other will reply, and there will be like hundreds of people singing. And if you see it, you will. It's really a really like epic thing to see that. And the laborers, the the laborers will have to bend. So in paddy field, you have to bend for like for at least 10 hours to to sow the seed, and it is really painful. Like it's a really painful task. So actually, the folk songs come out. It actually come into existence because of pain. All the folk songs somehow have its root in pain. So, for example, in paddy field, they were singing actually to forget, to take a break from their pain, because they cannot complain to their superior. They can just sing to themselves, and when they sing, somehow, for a moment, they forget about their pain. And another interesting thing about this is many work songs are also love songs. And it's interesting because the upper class women are normally very, very protected. And they are, because the upper class men, they are very scared to let their women out, and they will lock them in and prison them because they are afraid that they will mingle with the other people and pollute their purity. But unlike them, the working class women, they had more agency because they go out to work. So they had more freedom to actually pursue their desire and move freely. So this song is a romantic song that was sung in the paddy field. கஞ்சி களையும் கொண்டு கருதறுக்க போற புள்ளே, கஞ்சி களையும் கொண்டு கருதறுக்க போற புள்ளே, காக்காளும்புதடி கருத்த புள்ள உங்களையும், காக்காளும்புதடி கருத்த புள்ள உங்களையும், கண்ணத்துல மஞ்ச போட்டு கருதறுக்க வந்தவளே, கண்ணத்துல மஞ்ச போட்டு கருதறுக்க வந்தவளே, நீ அரைச்சு போட்ட மஞ்சள் கமகமன்னு ஆள தூக்குது, நீ அரைச்சு போட்ட மஞ்சள் கமகமன்னு ஆள தூக்குது. So actually, like all the folk songs are like the people I met who are folk singers, their voice is like so good, like somehow it's so loud and like it pierces through, because these are songs that are sung in open air, and usually you can hear from far, so their vocal is really developed, like they can really sing loud. Yeah. So they were living a beautiful life among themselves, but actually things were controlled and oppressed for them, because India back in that time, and still are, very much divided by caste. Like the community is broken through different castes. Caste is a division among the community based on occupation. So for example, if you are a farmer, you have to be a farmer forever. Like your kid have to be a farmer, and everyone have to be like, you're stuck. Your family and your generations are stuck in one occupation, and there's no way to jump or to move out of this. And there's always a philosopher give an image of a high-rise building without staircase. So each caste are stuck in their own levels. And what is sad is they actually oppress one another, and the working class who sits at the lowest part, they are almost they are almost treated like they are almost treated like slave somehow. They are not given many privileges are taken out from them. For example, they are not allowed to enter the temple. They are not allowed to touch they are called the untouchables. They are not allowed to touch the upper caste people, and so many things basically they are really pushed out from all the the beauty of life, and they're isolated from the other upper caste people. And so what the working class people really had were songs. So that's why the folk songs are really belong to the the lower working class people. And yeah, so even the famous instrument of folk, they call it parai. It's really the instruments of the Dalits, which is also why the elites couldn't mimic this. You cannot mimic pain. It has to come from your experience, and somehow pain and music. I'm not interested in romanticizing this, but there is somehow it is connected. The pain and music somehow it transmutes into song. Pain. That's what I found. So back in India, the lands, most of the lands are owned by the temple and the upper caste people. And even before the British came, they were taxed very highly. And so the folk songs are used also as a form of resistance. And there's a very interesting song that were actually sung during the colonial time. ஊராந்தோட்டத்திலே ஒருத்தம் போட்டானா வெள்ளரிக்கா, காசுக்கு 2 விக்க சொல்லி காகிதம் போட்டானா வெள்ளக்காரன், காகிதம் போட்டானா வெள்ளக்காரன், காகிதம் போட்டானா வெள்ளக்காரன். வெள்ளக்காரன் பணம் சின்ன பணம், வேடிக்கை காட்டுதான் வெள்ளிப்பணம். வெள்ளக்காரன் பணம் சின்ன பணம், வேடிக்கை காட்டுதான் வெள்ளிப்பணம். வெள்ளி பணத்துக்கு ஆசை வச்சு வேஷம் குறைஞ்சாலாம் வீராயி. So this song is sung. This is a really famous song, both in Malaysia and India during the colonial times, and it's sung because naturally in the Tamil diet, cucumber is not a staple food at all, and cucumber actually grows wildly in the Tamil native land, and people don't really care much about cucumber. But when the British came to rule India, they needed cucumber for their salad, so they started to grow it and commodify it, turning it into an export crop. And this song is actually telling how absurd it is. What was once free and wild now suddenly have price, and they are selling it back to their own people, who the people of the land, which is really absurd. And yeah, like the whole thing is quite absurd. Like the whole colonial thing is absurd. And the most absurd thing happened in 1877. And this is the year where the Great Madras Famine happened. So Mariamman, the goddess of rain, refused to pour rain that year, and people and nothing grew out of the soil, and there were no food. So normally, if a famine happened in India, people will move from one place to another. They will move to other neighboring state that has that are okay. And this is this was how it was, the culture, and people always move and come. But during the British period, what they did was they blocked the they closed the borders and did not allow for migration to happen. And this really made it worse, and that's why it is actually a man-made catastrophe, I would say. And at this period, even the upper class people, the landlords, even they died of starvation. So imagine the working class people who had nothing to begin with. And at the same time, just nice for the British colonial people, they abolished slavery in their colonies, and they were looking for a new replacement to work in their plantations. And the South Indians were just the perfect fit, because we were already suffering from this famine, and we were like so desperate to just do anything so that we could escape this torture. So the British, like they really ride on this condition, and use this to ship a lot of Tamil and other South Indian people to their colonies in many other countries. So there were people sent to Malaysia, Singapore, Sri Lanka, South Africa, Mauritius, and many places. So this song is actually, it's called Kummi, and Kummi is naturally a festival song, but this Kummi is special because it sings about the famine. And you can see the detail of the famine, which is recorded in this song. தன்னன்னாதீனம் தன்னானே போடு தானன்னாதீனம் தன்னானே தன்னன்னாதீனம் தன்னானே போடு தானன்னாதீனம் தன்னானே காது வருஷத்தில் பூமியில் மழைகள் தாராளமாக பெய்யாதினால் ஏது விதத்தால் பிழைப்போம் என்று யாவரும் சொல்வார் பாருங்கடி. 5 நாள் 6 நாள் பட்டினியாக அடங்கி இருந்த வெகு ஜனம் கஞ்சி தண்ணீருக்கு வழி இல்லாமல் கலங்கி சாகிறார் பாருங்கடி. கண்ணை இருட்டுது காது மூடுது கை குலைவார் என்பாரும், இன்னும் எத்தனை நாளுக்கு இப்படி இருக்க வேணுமோ என்பாரும். காட்டில் கீரையும் இல்லையே கடன் கொடுப்பாரும் இல்லையே, வீட்டை விட்டு புறப்பட்டே வெளியில் போவோர் என்பாரும். இடுப்பில் பிள்ளையும் தலைமேல் மூட்டையும் எடுத்து கொண்டு வெகு ஜனம் அடுக்கடுக்காக கூட்டம் கூட்டமாய் அன்புடன் வாரார் பாருங்கடி. அடுக்கடுக்காக கூட்டம் கூட்டமாய் அன்புடன் வாரார் பாருங்கடி. So the oppression because of the caste discrimination and the famine really started this migration cycle, and that's how our ancestors came to Malaysia. So my great-grandfather, his name was Raman. He was one of them who came here in the early movement. When he came, he was a teenager, and he boarded this ship. It was called SS Rajula, and he came with his twin brother. And during the journey, his twin brother died, and apparently they just threw the body into the sea. And this is a very common thing when we hear to the past generation, like they are always even the boat journey is already torturous to begin with, but they had hope. They were still keeping their hope. So in their mind, the condition in Malaysia is going to be different, because the people who are responsible to recruit them, they are called Kangani. They are the workers of the colonial British. So they go to rural places in South India, and what they promise them, that the work in Malaysia is really easy. It's you just have to chase away crows in the sugarcane field. It's very easy, and you can come back to India in 3-4 years. It's not going to be that hard. So they were promised all this, but apparently it turned out to be lies, and they never could return back. And this time there were no radios, right? So among these thousands of laborers, and hundreds of them, some of them were artists, thankfully. And these artists carried these folk songs from their native land, probably hundreds and hundreds of folk songs in their flesh, and they carried them to Malaya. And if you, when I read the book that Dr. Dandaidam has collected, there is a trend of the early songs that are sung in Malaysia, the folk songs, are mostly talking about South India, and they are reminiscing the landscape, how beautiful it was, and how grand and unbeatable the Tamil kingdoms were. And probably they were singing this out of homesickness, because they are now in a strange land of Malaya, which is really isolated in the plantation, and is not connected to the other city, and naturally they feel homesick, and they use the songs to keep the memory of hometown alive. The next song that I'm going to sing is it's a beautiful lullaby song, which are sung by a mom to her kid. Ra ra ri ra ro, எங்கண்ணே ராரோ ராரீராரோ, மதுரத்தில நல்ல எங்கண்ணே மாதூலம் பூக்கும் மரம், நகரிருக்க எங்கண்ணே மருதி வந்த காணசமே, செங்கீல மரம் எங்கண்ணே செவ்வந்தி பூ பூக்கும் மரம், செங்கி நகரிருக்க எங்கண்ணே சீக்கிரமா வந்ததென்ன. So if you see, there is a movement in folk songs. So all folk songs have actually a physical movement attached to it. So the lullaby has this kind of a swing movement. So probably it is attached to the movement of the swing where the baby is put So so upon arrival to Malaysian plantation, nothing was as promised as usual. And the Kangani is the supervisors who recruited them from back in Tamil Nadu. And Kangani is also the one who supervised them in the plantations. And when the laborers arrived in Malaysia, the Kangani changes his nature. He's no more the sweet-talking person. He suddenly become fierce guy who become like super oppressive. And but now the laborers have nowhere to run. They are in a really they are in a strange land, and they have no one to complain, and they are in the middle of a forest. So they are actually, when they came here, most of the lands in Malaysia were actually forests, and they were made to cut the forest. And many people actually also died of malaria and all this hardship in the forest. And there were also songs about this. And then time passes, and they clear the land, and they build the plantations. And probably the next generation has arrived. And in the rubber, the first ever Indian immigrants, they came to work in the sugarcane plantations, and then rubber was introduced to Malaysia. And rubber is also not a native plant, Malaysian native plant. So it was also arrived to Malaysia as a strange thing, just like the Indians. And I would like to imagine they have this kind of a forced marriage, the Indians and the rubber tree. And yeah. So in the rubber plantations, the Indians were given, it is a very small world when I'm looking at it from outside. But to all the people who actually lived the plantation life, it's actually a big world. It has its own thing, and own drama, own conflicts, own pleasure. So it was its own thing, but it is also a prison. They had a Tamil school, an alcohol shop. They had a temple. And just the basic things are there, and particularly the temple and the toddy shop, the alcohol shops, are built after apparently in the beginning many people committed suicide because there was no place for them to cry and just cry out this helpless state they are in. So the British built them temple and alcohol shop as a way of escapism, and this actually prisoned them even more. So the people in the plantation would be they will wake up at 4 a.m. and they will be called for muster for a morning assembly. The reason why they are waken up at such early time is actually because the rubber tree, when the sun rises, the water content of the rubber tree depletes, and this will bring down the yield of rubber milk. So that's why the laborers are waken before the sunrise, and actually they tap the trees before the sunrise. So it's crazy how human life is modified around productivity like this. But this song is an optimistic song. This is a song where a lover sing to his beloved. Let's go to work. An optimistic work song. Tana tananane, tane tananane, 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 tanana, tananane, 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 tanana. விடிகாலையிலே சேவ கூவிடுச்சு, காண்டாவாளியை எடுத்து வையடி கண்ணம்மா, காண்டாவாளியை எடுத்து வையடி கண்ணம்மா, கட்டாயமா நாம் பெரட்டுக்கு போகணுண்டி கண்ணம்மா. சின்னஞ்சிறுத்தி இருக்கு செவ்வானம் செவத்திருக்கு, சின்னஞ்சிறுத்தி இருக்கு செவ்வானம் செவத்திருக்கு, சிட்டுகளா பறந்து வாடி கண்ணம்மா நேரம் பறந்துடுச்சி, பொன்னம்மா கண்ணம்மா ஏன் கண்ணம்மா, பொன்னம்மா ஏன் பொன்னம்மா. அடி அங்க பாரு இங்க பாரு அக்கம் பக்கம் 4 பேரு, அங்க பாரு இங்க பாரு அக்கம் பக்கம் 4 பேரு. So not all folk songs are just about sadness. Some of it are because they have to live life, and life is even life happens wherever, and this is an example of it. And so in contrast to the back in Tamil Nadu, they worked as a community in paddy fields, like hundreds of them work together and they sing songs together. But the working condition in Malaysia is different, because in the plantation, one person is tasked to cut about 400 rubber trees. So they are in the middle of 400 rubber trees and no one would hear whatever they are talking. So there's no call and response. So the song also changed, and it starts to talk about more about loneliness and detachment and depression. So this picture of 3 people is I can tell it's a very beautiful picture because it has the 3 different layer of hierarchy. First is the white boss, the British colonial master, and then the second is the black boss, which is actually also Indian, who are from the upper caste, and they are were also in the plantation as supervisors, as Kangani, and they are the middlemen between the British and the working class Indians. And the British appeared like father figure to the working class. Like even until now, when I talk with the plantation laborers who lived in the past, they really think about them very fondly. Because they are protected, they hide behind these supervisors. The supervisors are the one who execute the oppression, and whenever they play good cop and bad cop among them, and the British is always the good cop. And a lot of things happen, and somehow they are constantly reminded that they are the slave, and who is the master and who is the slave. So, for example, the morning assembly master, it is also an exercise of clearly telling who is the master and who is the boss, who's the boss and who is the slave. And in every step, for example, after the pay like salary day, they will pay the salary to each one, and they would have coins at the end, and they would throw these coins, and the laborers will like fight among each other and pick the coins, and this kind of things to keep instill that the slave mentality in them, and they're always kept in lack. Like the British, the master would have swimming pool, he would have like garden and water them every day, but for the laborers they would just have one tank for 10 houses, and the 10 houses will fight among themselves for the water, and they will never unite. So the British really mastered how to control and oppress people. But what is interesting is to see the resistance. The Indians, the laborers did not just take it. Of course, they fight, and there are different forms of fighting. There is obvious strikes that happen, but what I really like is the passive resistance that happen in plantation. So in the morning assembly, the muster call, for example, they will, if I'm the laborer and the Kangani calls my name, and I have to say, yes, sir, present, like that. But the laborers will keep quiet for 1 or 2 times. And then only in the 3rd time they say, yes, sir. So these are the kind of passive resistance. And it's like a little happiness that they made the oppressor call their name 3 times. Simple things like this. But it's what kept them alive. And then the next song is actually a teasing song. A teasing song that's sung to the supervisor. Tannane tannane tananane tannane tannane tananane tananane tannane tannane tananane tananane tannane கங்காணி கங்காணி கருப்பு சட்டை கங்காணி கொண்டையில பூவ வச்சு கூட்டி வந்த கங்காணி குண்டியில காத்தடிக்குது குட்டியப்பா கங்காணி. So I'm not sure if they sing this to his face or not, but either way, it's beautiful to see. So a plantation, a setting. A researcher back in the day has told, wrote in his book that the conditions and the structure of the Indians in the plantation is exactly that of rural India. It's like plucked and put here, because there is already division back then, and the British actually make use of this division so that they won't unite. So the British carefully pick laborers from different castes and put them together in a mix in the plantation, and even they would house them separately. So one this caste will be in this line, and this line, and this line. So they emphasize the division even in Malaysia to prevent unity. And like many things that stayed unchanged, the reason why they came here is to escape famine, but somehow they never really escaped it when they were in plantation. Like they were still in hunger, and this is something that I think when before I went into the folk song research, I actually did 2 years of interviews. I went around Malaysia and interviewed many ex-laborers or people who worked and lived in the plantation in the past. And whenever I asked them the question about plantation, they would try to dismiss. I have to convince them to go back because somehow it's so traumatic, and they'll say, "Oh, it was such a hard time, son. So we struggled a lot. But when I ask what is really exactly the struggle is, what really is the struggle is when I get down to it, it is basically hunger. So hunger, they were hungry every day. Basically, they had like one meal per day. Some wouldn't have that also. And the British designed the toxic cycle of the British kept like the toddy shop in the plantation, the alcohol shop, and somehow it become a toxic cycle where they fall into the darkness and they never come out, and they were always here and always hungry. And when the people talk to me in the interviews, when they're talking about the hunger, they cannot look into my eyes. I can feel the shame, like the hunger has broken them as a human somehow. It's really sad. படகேறி வந்தென்னே ஏன் பஞ்சம் தீரலை பாவி வந்த படகு திரும்பலையே திரும்பலையே ஏன் காலம் வந்ததுன்னு காலம் வந்ததுன்னு நான் கப்பலேறி வந்துட்டேன் ஏன் காலமும் தொலையல நான் வந்த கப்பலும் திரும்பல. So this is the song that I just sung is Opari. It's a genre in the Tamil folk song. So in Tamil folk song, there are two major genres. One is lullaby and one is Opari. And one is, Opari is a song that are sung in the death. It's an elegy. It's basically a lament that are sung in death. So one lullaby is in the beginning of a person's life, and the elegy is the end of a person's life. So my grandmother, the person in the middle is my grandmother, but the baby is not me, it's my cousin. So my grandmother actually sings Opari. And she would sing it like she don't write it down or she don't plan it. Like she'll come back from work. If it's a sad day, she'll just sit down and just sing this Opari. But my uncles at that time, they think it's not so auspicious to sing an Opari. Because it's like connected to death, so they will ask her to like don't sing it. And but now when I speak to the uncles and I talk about this, they realize what they've like how beautiful their mother was. Like she had this power to just channel song through her body, and this beautiful thing she can just sing. So Opari and also Talatu is basically primarily a woman's form. And like I said, each folk song has a movement attached to it. So in Opari, they usually like a group together, the women's, and they will like one person's shoulder will be on me and my shoulder will be, and then they'll be like swaying together and they will sing the song. And at the climax, they will hit their chest and cry. And and there is also a little bit of theatrics in it. Like in between the lines, they will fake a cry. I mean, it sounds like faking, but I think it is facilitation of sorrow. Like I will sing an opari later, and you will see this. And it starts at it starts in the beginning. It feels fake, but as you sing it, it actually facilitates your grief. And the opari is that it facilitates grief. But another beautiful thing about opari is that it is not just about grief. It is also it is actually also a protest. So how this is a protest is in the past, the Tamil women are kept in a very dependent state, and they are all the Tamil women are very, like, the structure is such that they are made dependent to the patriarch of the society. So when a patriarch dies, the women are left vulnerable, and opari is a stage where they sings their right to this person who died, because there are other relatives who might chase her out or treat her badly. So opari becomes a place, an avenue for the woman to claim the rights of her to this person who died, but also the property, the all these things. It's also political in that sense. And because of this, because of in opari, the women are singing about their private matters. Later on, what happened was the men of the family, they segregated, so only the woman will sit inside the funeral, inside the house, and the guys are brought outside. And outside, they will hire a band to play loudly, so that the strangers who come, they don't really listen to the family affairs. So that's how it has evolved. So the song that I'm going to sing next is written by another Malaysian Tamil writer. Her name is Muttamal Palanisamy. So she wrote a book. She also has collected. This is another book. She has also collected a number of folk songs that were sung in the plantations. But this, especially this opari that I'm about to sing, is sung by her own grandmother. So what happened was, her uncle, Muttamal's uncle, was about 20 years old, and he was such a bright student, a bright person, and he was like the hope of the family. He's the first one to have an education in the family, so they really trusted him. And during the emergency period in Malaya, he was abducted by the communists. He was abducted by the communists, and he never returned. So until now, like until the grandmother passed away, they don't know what happened to the uncle. So the mother is left in this limbo of not knowing what happened, and she sing this song to her to her son's friend. Kane kurati maghe காடைக்குத்தான் கண்ணி வச்சா அந்த காட விழும் கண்ணியிலே கட்டழகே பட்டானே மாலை குரத்தி தன் மகளும் மானுக்குத்தான் கண்ணி வச்சா அந்த மானுவிலும் கண்ணியிலே ஏ மன்மதனும் பட்டானே டே வளராமா ஏன் பச்சை கிளி நீங்க இருக்க நான் பெத்த ஏன் பாடுங்கிளி எங்க எடா டே வளராமா என் கோலக்கிளி நீங்க இருக்க நான் பெத்த என் கொஞ்சம் கிளி எங்க எடா பெத்த என் கொஞ்சம் கிளி எங்க எடா. So these are songs that are never written actually. So thankfully the Muttamal remembered the line and she wrote it down. It's amazing how poetic they are naturally, you know, they can just sing this out. It's very, very impressive. And if you go and ask these ladies to sing Opari in a normal day, they would be shy and they'll like, no, I don't know how to sing. I don't know how to sing. But when her own son passed or someone has died, it becomes automatic, and they cannot stop singing when that happens. And they would go on for like they are Opari that goes on for 2 hours or 3 hours. They just sing and sing and sing and yeah, it's inside. So it's these songs are, no matter we remember or not, we write it down or not, or we listen it or not, these melodies and these songs are inside of us, and it comes out when we allow it. So there are many things more I wish to share. Of course, there are many things more, and I would later we can talk more in the Q&A if you have questions. But I would like to finish with another song, and this song is basically the song that I'm about to sing next is it's a worker union songs. So this is something that I'm really impressed of my ancestors, and they came here as old as a slave, almost a slave. It's actually slavery repackaged, I would say, indentured labor ship, and they were uneducated. They were prisoned. They were like the colonists made everything to keep them unaware and yeah, like really to weaken them, to break them. But what is interesting is these people, even in that condition, has managed to organize among themselves and fight back. So for example, you can check, these are the early strikes. In 1941, there is a really major strike happened in Klang, where the plantation laborers come together to fight the British masters. And this is a time where it started because a guy his name is Velayan, he refused to do overtime job. and the masters sacked him from work, and this triggered a small protest, and that small protest started to grow into a really big protest which involves many plantations. And at the peak of the protest, 300 laborers from the plantation of my grandfather, 300 of them organized and circle around the white manager's house, bungalow, 300 of them, and everyone bringing stick and tapping knife and all these things, and house arrest the white masters. And the white masters got scared, and he got called the police, and the police came with army, and they opened fire at the laborers, and the 3 of them died from this open fire. And this happened in 1941. So the song that I'm going to sing now is it's a labor union song. The songs that are sung to the laborers, because the laborers are kept in the same condition for years. There would be protests now and then, but not much result. For example, even until 2004, there was no minimum, there was no electricity in some of the plantation. Even until 2004, there was no proper water in some plantations, and only in this past few years they had a minimum salary. Before that, the salary was like terribly low. So when you fight and there's no response and there's nothing, you somehow become numb. How long can you fight and resist when there's no change, right? So at some point these people might have become numb, and this song is sung to wake them up to go to fight. தானனனே 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 தானனே தானனனே தானனனே தானனனே. காலையில எழுந்திருந்து காண்டாவாளிய தூக்கணும், கடுமையான 100 மரத்தை நாங்க வெட்டணும், உழைப்பாளியா நாங்க இருந்து ஓடா தேயணும், உழைக்கும் மக்கள் நாங்க வறுமையா வாடணும், இட்ட வேலைய நாங்களாகவே எடுத்து கூறி செய்யணும், செய்யாவிட்டால் பின்முதுகில் பிடரி பிடித்து தள்ளுவான், ஏனென்று கேட்க நாதி இல்லை, எடுத்துரைக்க கதியும் இல்லை, ஏனென்று கேட்க நாதி இல்லை, எடுத்துரைக்க கதியும் இல்லை. பால சுமந்து கொண்டு வந்து பக்குவமா ஊத்தணும், படிதவரி கீழே விழுந்தா ஏனென்று கேட்க நாதி இல்லை, எடுத்துரைக்க கதியும் இல்லை, ஏனென்று கேட்க நாதி இல்லை, எடுத்துரைக்க கதியும் இல்லை. மாதம் முடிஞ்சு சம்பளத்தை குறையுதுன்னு கேட்டு பார்த்தா, கேட்டு விட்டா போதும் எரிகிறாரே கிராமமணியாரும், ஏனென்று கேட்க நாதி இல்லை, எடுத்துரைக்க கதியும் இல்லை, ஏனென்று கேட்க நாதி இல்லை, எடுத்துரைக்க கதியும் இல்லை. So these are what I've prepared. So The songs that Dr. Dandaidam has collected, it tells a story of the early immigrants of Indians until the independence of Malaya. And somehow the folk song stops there, and probably because the introduction of popular, like the cinema entered, the radio entered, and also I met some of the laborers, and I asked them why did you, like, because their mother sung lullaby to them. So I asked them why you didn't sing to your kids, and the answer was very simple. They said, by the time I come back home, I was tired. So yeah, it was that practical. They were like really tired, especially the woman. They had so much thing that their body cannot carry the melodies anymore. That is really sad. And now, 100 years later, so the 100 years of Indian history in the plantation, now we have moved to the city, and we don't like our we are not in hunger anymore, which is great, and our life has improved, but there are still things, limitations, a minority that would suffer. Yeah, but I hope we won't forget these songs, these folk songs, because it reminds us this 100 years of plantation history is where the Indians learn, like this is where they first arrived as stranger to this land, and this is where they learn to love this land. This is where the land became, from a stranger, it became their own country. So in this 100 years that from a stranger, we become a citizen. This become our home. So without understanding this 100 years, what happened, what change happened to us, we won't really understand our identity. And yeah, I think we can open to the Q&A. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, thank you, Gogu, for your very beautiful presentation, and also the song and the singing. I think some people left their questions in the message, and maybe we can start from the questions that were left during the presentation first, and then we continue with the audience online that raised his hand later. So there are a few questions, 2 questions from AR actually. So I just combine them together. First question is, do we have untouchable in Malaysia, like the lowest class? And the second question is regarding the towards the end of the presentation, there's a slides on news clip about the Malayan communists in the plantation. And the second question is regarding to that: was they abducted by Malayan communists, or could that be a voluntarily participation? Yeah. So that's 2 questions from AR.
Okay. So the untouchables, the majority of indentured laborers are from the lowest hierarchy, the lowest caste people. So yeah, the most of us, most of the indentured laborers are from the Dalit community, but from the early immigration. In the early immigration, most of them are from the Dalit community, but later on, people from other castes willingly come to Malaysia. So now we have a mix of them, and but I would say the Dalits are still majority of what makes the Tamil population in Malaysia. But the good thing about living in Malaysia is like once we escape the plantation boundary, the effect of that caste oppression was not obvious on us anymore. So somehow we are almost free from it, but in some instances it comes out. For example, in marriage or in temple activities, it might pop out, but it's still not too much. Thanks to the there was a reformation back in Tamil Nadu in the early before. That's called Dravidian movement, and they because of this the society is reformed, and they most of them rejected this division, and even though they might practice it secretly, at least they are shy to say it out loud. So that's about the untouchable. And the news clip about it's the Klang strike, the 1941 strike. It is willing, it is really a protest of the laborers themselves, but it was led by sub-editor of Tamil Nation newspaper at the time. I mean, it is actually run by the laborers themselves, but he was advising them, and he was a deserving leader, I would say, who really cared about the laborers, and for that he got the British shipped him back to India. Yeah.
Thank you. We have quite a few questions, so we'll just continue.
Okay.
There's one questions earlier by Agila Nadarash, asking, do you see any continuity or connection with folk songs sung in the past and the Malaysian Tamil music from more recent times? Yeah, I think she has, yeah, that's pretty much the questions. And she left a comment at the back, yeah.
Okay, so maybe I'll answer this, right? So there is a connection, but sadly, most of the people, including me, when I found this book, the folk song book, I was so surprised that we were actually singing folk songs in plantation, because I had no idea this existed. I thought folk songs are only sung back in the rural in India, and and this is not just me. When I go and ask around my friends and other musicians, it's really new thing for them also. So somehow it's really forgotten that Tamil folk songs in Malaysia existed. But as these are folk songs, it cannot escape the body. So when they make music, it somehow is there. So the early Malaysian Tamil song have this resemblance. For example, I'm not sure if you know this song, Rotte mela tar mela kula this song, and so these songs have such a strong folk presence in them. Probably they were not aware that these are actually folk, but it just came out naturally, I think. And there are many other examples to it. But I think I think important important link of this folk is there is a musician whose name is Ilayaraja. So Ilayaraja is a music director in the Tamil Nadu movie scene, and so what he did before he came to the scene, the industry was dominated by the elite musicians, and Ilayaraja, when he came, he actually brought a lot of he sampled a lot of folk music and folk song, and he brought it to mainstream. And these songs are consumed by the Malaysian Indians, and somehow the folk musics are alive through that. So thanks to him to do that. So that when I listened to when I started this research and I read or listen, it's not that strange to me. So Ilayaraja has kept the connection intact for most of the Tamils in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm. And also there are two audience, I think, that have the same questions from Jeff, where do you want to ask it yourself, or you want me to read? Huh? So Jeff questions, actually another audience has the same questions as Jeff. Okay. So he's asking is the song, the way that you sing the song is so beautiful and it was very touching. Mm-hmm. But they're curious on how do you learn to sing these songs, and were they notated by someone, or were they recordings, or they are passed down purely only through oral tradition? If there are no recordings, how do researchers who study these folk songs like their melodies?
Okay, so when I got it's just the book that I had access to. So the book had 500 folk songs there, like I said, and there's no notes on the notation or mentions of or clue to the melody written in the book. But the good thing about, like I said, about folk songs, the Tamil folk songs, it has genres, right? And each genre has like a basic melodic pattern to it. So this makes it this was a good thing because it's still traceable. But of course, I would not know for sure this is how they sing in back in the days. But somehow it gives it brings me closer to the experience than just the lyrics. So what we did was I went to India because the Tamil no one practice Tamil folk songs that much in Malaysia. I couldn't find a master who had the enough capacity to do this. So what I did was I went to Tamil Nadu, South India, and I engaged with a university. They had folklore department in that university. So the dean was very, very helpful. He arranged meetings with the folk singers in India. So I met a few folk singers there, and what we did was we sit down, and because this the songs that sung in Malaysia has parallels because it originates from India, so it has parallels in from the songs that are sung in India. And how folk songs are sung is they will have they will build on songs. That's the nature of folk songs, Tamil folk song. So they will use a template and they use it to express their experience. So songs are built on songs. So when I bring the songs to the folk singers in India, we sit down and we categorize them first, like what genre this is, and they are really like they remember so much melody in their mind. And apparently there's no proper school for folk songs, so these are they just pick up from their life. They grow up and they pick up and they go and they listen, and this is how it's still being done. And so when we see we learn a song and we learn the patterns, and they would say, oh, this sounds like this, you remember this song, this is this. And then we will find parallels, and then we will slowly construct it, but somehow you will feel wrong when it's not there, but when it's there you will feel right. I think it's the feeling that like when the tune really sets, you understand the song like completely in a new and complete way. Until then you would probably see it this way, and when the melody sticks, it feels it feels right. But this is the limitation that I cannot know for sure if that's it. But I think it's beautiful that I think the effort to close the gap is I really like that effort, so I do it.
Before we go into another questions, I just pick up from what you just mentioned. I'm also curious on how these genres were being categorized, like genres in terms they are being categorized based on the context. For example, like you mentioned, they're lullaby, and also they're opari, and also from your singing in the presentation, there are songs that you sing when you wake up in the very early morning and like prepare yourself to go to work. The melody sounds a bit different, the structure as well. Yeah, just curious on how these genres that you repeatedly mention, how were they categorized?
So it is so basic. Back in India, there are it is like you say, is categorized by, like, the big groups are opari, thalatu, devotional, but especially the work songs, right, in the paddy fields, it is so nuanced and developed that they have categories for each stages of the paddy field. So for example, when they are cutting the drain, there's a song for the drain. There is a song for each steps of paddy field work. And then and the work song and the devotional songs, devotional and festival songs. So the work song has a very developed genre, category within it, like how, like for example, the prayer, like the prayer to begin, and the each songs for each steps, and the harvest. Just like that, the devotion has also very nuanced and developed category within it. For example, the kummi. Kummi is a song that are sung by the woman. It's like ritual song where the woman will sing in group and they circle around by clapping and moving. And this is a category of songs. But basically it's categorized by the context of where it is sung. But like within the folk song, the types of folk song, the devotional and the work songs are more structured. So that's why it has more defined categories within it. Whereas the opari, talate, and other personal expressions are very free, and that's why it's hard to categorize them in it. But there is always there is always like a basic pattern to lullaby, like this is like the most basic, but there are variations on top of it. The variations are created also by different castes. Like different castes have different types of talatu. Lullaby, different type, and also different regions of Tamil Nadu has different types of lullaby also. So, but they all fall on the basic pattern, but they have variations among them. For lullaby, for opari is it also has basic, like if you listen to it, you can identify that is opari, that it's basic melodic pattern to it. I'm not sure if I'm not very good in musical, like terming them, but I hope but if you can ask if you have any more questions.
But I think your answer is clear enough for me. For your and we have one more questions left from earlier from the chat box. From an audience named Sanjay. He said he was a 4th generation Malaysian Chinese, and his father and grandfather also works in rubber harvesting in Johor in their early days. And he was wondering if workers that you mentioned today ever in your presentation ever came into contact with any Chinese or other ethnic workers in the plantation, I think he meant.
Yeah, of course they came in contact. There's always, but it's like they had their own world, but they were definitely crossovers whenever they move about. There's also them meeting the indigenous people, because indigenous are in the forest and they are in the edge of the forest, the Indian plantation laborers. So there's also crossovers, like the Indians will go into the forest to hunt for wild boars, and then they will meet the the indigenous people, and then whenever they go to the town, so the Indians will move, like go to town during whenever when they have like the salary day, or whenever they can, which is very limited, but when they go to town they see. But like Sanjay said, there's also a significant amount of Chinese rubber tappers as well. So there's also this, but there was parity, like one of the reasons for the 1941 Clang strike was different wages for the Chinese tappers. They
Your wages.
yeah, 20 cents higher than the Indians. Yeah, so the Indians were paid 30 cents, the Chinese paid 20 cents higher. So they fight for equal wage.
I think 20 cents in 1941 is quite a big difference for people.
True.
Yeah, and we have like few more questions. One is from Gianni. I think she's also a Malaysian from Penang. So her question is, from her understanding, there's still an internal caste division within the Dalit communities. For example, the scavenger or the night soil workers. I think this connects with her research. They are not including as a clean caste. So she's curious, does folk songs also reflect these internal caste divisions?
Yes, of course. It reflects this. It's even more obvious in India. It's more like the songs are more obviously discussing this. But in the book that I got, there are a few songs that, but the songs doesn't go deep into how these things are, how the caste discrimination happens. It doesn't speak too much, but they are like, they mention it very on the surface level. But there are a great amount of folk songs in India that are sung by the Dalit, which describe this caste, internal caste division, especially now. There's a good movement that has happened, and there are more expressions. So earlier this year, when I go to India, I also went to in Tamil Nadu. There is a festival called Margaliyil Makkal Isai. So Margali is a month where the Carnatic songs are played and performed. It's like this pure month of where music are performed for the elites. So there is a group, new reformists from the Dalit. What they did is they want to reclaim this month, and they say Margali is for folk songs. They arrange a big festival, like folk song festival, in that elites, in the same place where the elite perform their Carnatic song. And yeah, I went for, I think it's for 3 days, and it's super good. It's really empowering to see, and there's no censorship. They just sing like the truth, and it was really beautiful to see how folk song was very much still alive through this.
You mean still very alive in Tamil Nadu?
Yes.
We actually still have 10 more minutes. So I'm wondering whether if the friends that are still online, do you have any questions that you want to ask, or something that you want to share? So actually I have one, it's not actually a question, but I really like the way that you phrase it, that you mention people from your ancestors, people from South India. They were migrants to Malaya, and also rubber tree also is a kind of migrants brought by the British from different southern parts of the world, one from India and other one from South America. And to put them together is kind of like a false marriage, you say?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a really beautiful but also a very striking romance on how these two strangers met in a strange land, and how things grow after that it takes it takes more than 2 or 3 generations to really reflect on how your true identity is. Yeah, because it also happens in my own family. I'm from a Chinese section. I think I am actually the third generation. My grandparents also come from southern part of China because of famine and poor condition. But yeah, so yeah, it's not really a question, but just something that I heard pick up from your presentation that really strikes and touching in a way on the way you say that.
Thank you.
Someone would like to know about the film that you are making.
Thank you, Elisa. So now what I'm doing is, so there's 500 songs that are in the book, but what I am doing is I'm picking 15 of them and work with the musicians, both in Malaysia and folk singers in India, and try to reconstruct the melody. And part of it is in Ilham, like you said, and there is the next step is where I'm bringing the songs back to my family, who they were laborers in the plantation as well. They lived and worked there, but they are the generation who moved out. So I'm bringing the songs to them and bringing them to the plantations they once worked, and then I will ask them to sing it. And so it's a process of trying to reach the ancestors through the song, and also my family who remembers that experience, and try to forge this bridge to reach the ancestors. And so in the coming, actually next week, we are starting this shoot for the documentary, and yeah, hopefully we will do good. And it's always exciting to work with the family. And we are crowdfunding it, and we almost reach the goal. There's 10% more to complete the crowdfunding. Yay.
Do you have the link for the crowdfunding?
Yes, I will share it.
Actually, the snippets from the musical documentary, I think is really nice to watch. Actually,
Yeah.
very humorous in the beginning.
Thank you.
Gogu as the protagonist.
Yeah.
Maybe I can also share the link as well. I have the video link, but I don't have the crowdfunding link.
I shared the crowdfunding link here.
Mm.
And also on the 16th, Melissa, who is also participating here, we'll have a workshop about telling stories about ancestors, and in GMBB, if you guys are free, or in Malaysia, you can join.
Yeah, I think there are some Malaysians in the group. So GMBB is in KL. The 16, meaning 16 is next Tuesday or next Wednesday? Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday, Malaysia Day.
Yeah, in GMBB. Public holiday for Malaysia. So if you're in Malaysia, welcome to go to the workshop.
Yes, and another interesting promo I would like to do. So on the 20th, I'm bringing the singers I've consulted for the song. They are actually coming down to Malaysia, and they will join my documentary shoot. But we will also have like a public performance in Ilham. So they will sing the songs live in Ilham. And they are way, way better singers than myself. But you can also ask questions and like how we reached to this tune and what took us to arrive at particular songs. It'll be fun.
I also recommend everyone to go to the exhibition actually in Ilham Gallery in Kuala Lumpur if you pass by Malaysia or if you're in Malaysia. It's called the Plantation Plot. You can kind of see different approaches from different, not genres, but communities, or from different perspectives to plantation. And you can kind of, it's interesting to see that from the work, you can kind of tell from what background or from what's the origin of the artists and the history behind. So it's still on. I think it closes soon.
21st.
Next week. So yeah, it's a very good exhibition. In very rare exhibition in KL. So does anyone online still have any questions or things that you'd like to share? If there's no questions, then thank you very much, Gogu, for your very, very beautiful presentation and beautiful singing as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for willing to come online to share your thoughts, and it's always good to bring different people together, whether to share or as audience. I think we have a very mixed group from different places around the world today. Yeah. So thank you again, and thank you the Cube Project Space for organizing this event. I think the Cube Project Space participation in the Listening Biennale is still ongoing, and then I think there's a physical exhibition actually that will open in the Cube Project Space next week.
Yes, next week. Next Saturday.
Next Saturday. So if you are friends in Taipei, welcome to go to the exhibition and go to experience the listening room. So yeah, just Jeff, do you have any closing remarks, or we're just saying good night?
I'd like to thank you to our amazing speaker and singer, Gogu, and to our host, Shoei, for wonderful hosting this conversation. And you already talked about next Saturday's opening. So welcome everybody to the Cube Project Space. And thank you everybody, and wishing you have a lovely weekend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.